In a previous video we showed how the control bar can display a disclosure that shows a simple form as shown over here, where the form is hand-coded with the HTML. So if we look at how this form was defined here in the control bar, we see over here that the HTML for this form is defined here using standard HTML. So you can see here's our input control, here's the label over there, and there are the buttons over there. Now the syntax that is used here for this HTML is a little bit tricky to write, and so an easier way to create this form is to use the disclosure form builder. So what we're going to show now in this video is how this form here could have been defined using the disclosure form builder instead. So we'll start out now, and we'll open up the disclosure form builder, and we can see that the form builder allows us to create controls. So we'll go here and we'll create a button, and we'll call this the OK button. Then we'll go ahead there and click OK, and then we'll make the button have the same action that we previously used called disclosure OK. So we'll go there and we'll type in disclosure OK. We'll give the button an arbitrary ID, so we'll just call this button OK, and then the button layout we'll say is going to be text only, and we'll go there and we'll say OK, and then we'll go ahead now and click OK. And what we see is that the Genie has actually put the definition of this control over here in a comment in the HTML, and now we can basically go to this button over here and replace it with a placeholder. So we'll go there and we'll say insert form control, and we'll choose the OK button, and we can see now that basically the button here has been replaced with a placeholder that represents the control that is represented by this definition over here. So if we go now and we run this component again, so let's go now into working preview here and display the form, we can see that we have a real button. So if we put our mouse over the OK button, you can see we get highlight, whereas when we put our mouse over the cancel button, which was defined using just the raw HTML, we don't get the flyover effect. So by actually using the form builder, we get a real nice behaving OK button. So now we'll continue and define the other controls that the form uses. So let's continue now, and we can either continue using the Genie, or we can just go here and create our next button by just copying this code over here. So let's go copy and then paste it. So we're inside a JSON array, so we'll go there and type in a comma and then paste in the next control definition over there. We'll go here and we'll call this the cancel button, and we'll say that the ID for this is button cancel, and that the HTML is cancel, and that the action is disclosure cancel. And so now we can replace this button over here with the placeholder. So we'll go there and we'll just we can go here and say insert form control and choose the cancel button, or we could just have typed that in ourselves. So now we've basically replaced the two buttons with controls. Now let's go and create a control for this input over here. So we'll go back into our form builder and we'll add a new control. This time we'll call we'll make it an input control, and we'll say input field 1, and we'll define our control here. So we'll just give it an arbitrary ID. We'll call this input field 1, and then we can specify the name of the variable in the control bar's data object that will hold the value that the user types into this field. So I'll just go here and type in field 1. We'll make the style of this width 100%, so that the input control is the full width of the screen, and then for our watermark we'll just say here field 1. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next video. So we're continuing now defining our form using the Formsgenie. So we've gone now and we've defined our first input control called field 1. So we'll go ahead now and click OK. And we can see that now we've updated in this HTML comment here with the definition of input field 1. And so now let's just simply go over here and replace this control with the placeholder. So we'll go here and say form control, and we'll say input 1 over there. So there's input 1. Now let's basically go and just use copy and paste to create input field number 2. So we'll go here, we'll take this, we'll just copy this to the clipboard here. Then we'll go here and replace the second input control with input field number 2. And then again we'll use copy and paste over here to just copy this definition and paste it over there. So let's go copy and then paste, and let's just move this comma up there so that it looks nicely formatted. Change that to input field number 2, change the ID to that, the variable to number 2 over there, set the watermark to field 2. Actually, let's put a space on the watermark, field 1 and then field 2, and then click OK. Now, before we can run it, we're going to have to go to the data section and define a data variable called field number 2. So let's just go now to data. We can see field 1 is defined over there. So let's go and add field 2, and if we wanted the form to have a default value for a field, we could specify the default value here. So I'll just say default for field 2. So let's go ahead now, click OK, and now let's go and run this component. So we'll go there and click on the form button, and we can see now there's our default value for field 2, there's our field 1 with the watermark, here's our OK button, and there's our cancel button. So what we have now is a much easier way of creating this form. We don't have to write the HTML controls by hand. We can just use the Genie to build the form for us. So let's go back now and just review the definition of the form. So going back now into the ControlBar builder, and then going back to the form control over here, you can see now basically the HTML now looks a lot easier to understand, because all of the controls here, the input controls here, we haven't yet defined the labels. So let's go and replace this div here, which represents the label, with a control. So we'll go back to the builder here and we'll say add a label, and we'll just call this label, say label for field 1 will be our ID, and we'll just call this label field 1, and then the text will say field 1. So go ahead there and then click the OK button, and we can see now that we've added another control definition over there. And let's go now and just replace this label with the placeholder. So we'll go there to form control and choose label for field 1. And let's go here now, copy that to the clipboard, go to the second label over here, paste that in, change that to label for field 2, and then go here and just copy this. So basically copying and pasting the control definitions here is a little bit easier than opening up the Genie and defining it in the Genie once you understand what the correct syntax is. So we'll go there and change that to 2, 2, and then 2 over there. So basically by using the Formsgenie, the form builder here, to define the controls, the HTML that we have to write here is much simpler, because we can just use these placeholders over here. And the great benefit of basically building your simple forms using disclosures rather than injectable content is that the entire definition of the control bar and also the forms is just stored in a single control. So this control bar is completely self-contained. Thanks very much for watching.